It was a clear sky night in June of 1990, and I was at a bonfire party with a bunch of other 20-somethings, and I was scouting out my best path to get back to where the beer coolers were. And I rested my eye on this woman I could see in the distance, and she was beautiful. I mean, like, I don't even have to try, I wake up this way beautiful. Like way, way out of my league beautiful. But even though I'd never asked anyone out in my life before, I decided that's the path I'm taking to the beer coolers. So I make my way over and I stop beside her seat and I say, "Hi, can I get you another drink?" And she looks up at me and she says, "Sure, Diet Coke." Now, friends, my brain had one job in that moment, and it was this: say something flirty. But instead, this is what came out of my mouth. "Oh, diet for the calories or diet for the taste?" I know. So I went and I got the beer and I brought her Diet Coke for the taste, incidentally, and I slunk back to my seat in embarrassment. And the next day, I'd finally gotten over it a little bit, and I was tying on my waitress apron to take the lunch shift at my job, and who do you think came in with the lunch crowd that day? That girl. And she sat in my station, and she drank an endless cup of coffee all day, and we talked between clearing tables, and after my shift, we went out for a walk. And another day, we went out dancing. And another day, there was a quart of fresh-picked strawberries on my doorstep. And another day, unfortunately, she had to leave. She had this long planned trip where she was going to drive out west and hang out there for a little while and then drive back, but I had kind of convinced myself that she was going to meet somebody else fabulous in San Francisco and stay out there, and I would never see her again. But that was until I got the best postcard. I got this postcard, and it said, "I've been thinking of you all the way through Ohio and halfway through Indiana. I hope that's okay." Okay, do you know how wide Ohio is? It is very okay. She did come back, and we went out again and again and again and again, and by the time summer turned into September, we had decided to take a day trip to a beach in Provincetown. It was after the summer tourist season, so it was kind of quiet, but it was still really nice and warm, and we found this really peaceful place on the beach down by the jetty, and there's a beautiful estuary behind us with birds, and it was just beautiful, and we walked in the waves, and we talked for hours, and we sat in silence, and it was a perfect day. And as the afternoon wore on, at one point she kind of scooched herself closer to me and faced me, and she put an arm around my back, and with our other hand we sort of intertwined our fingers and we let them rest in the sand, and she pulled herself closer and whispered in my ear, "Close your eyes." So I did. And then she whispered, "What do you hear?" And I could hear the waves crashing on the beach, of course, but if I listened more, I could hear the little pebbles that were tickling against each other as they rolled in the ocean water coming up onto the sand, and I could hear the wind actually weaving in between the sand grass, the dunes grass, and I could hear, I swear to you, I could hear the sand crabs popping up out of their hole and ducking back down when a seagull approached. And she moved into my ear again and she whispered, "What do you feel?" And I could feel the sun on my skin. I could feel it penetrating every layer right down to my bones, and I could feel the gritty grain of sand under my heel, and I could feel the soft nest of sand under my hand, and I never knew there were so many different textures of sand, and I could feel this drop of water as it dripped towards the estuary behind us, and I could feel her breath making little eddies against the side of my neck as she leaned in one more time, and she said,